It is Sunday, and you know what that means. JFB, what are we talking about on the show today?
Well, we're going to have news, of course. And then we're going to get into one of my favorite comic books back in the day for Marvel was What If? Like, what if Captain America was this? Or what if the Hulk did that? We're going to do it wrestling style. That's right. The what ifs of wrestling.
All this and more on the All Effing Wrestling Show.
There we go. Hit it.
Coming to you live from the FN Worldwide Media Studios, located in parts unknown.
It's the All Effing Wrestling Show.
With your hosts, Canada Dry and the JFB.
Tell me how it's priced. Tell me if the item is for sale. And tell me.
Good morning, afternoon. If I don't see you till later. How you doing? Keep my supper warm. I am, of course, as Action Bronson would say, these 16 bars cost me 16 cars. I am, of course, the JFB, James from Boston.
And I'm, of course, the patron saint of all of professional wrestling. I'm that gingered up, bubbly son of a bitch. I'm Canada Dry, damn it.
Yes, he is so smooth it goes down. I bet you guys are wondering, wait a minute, this looks a little bit like Dynamite After Dark. That's because we got Trey J. Styles, the unstoppable one, in the house on a Sunday afternoon.
I know. It is insane how much I enjoy being with the three of you. You know, Rich is my boy, is like my brother from another mother.
Yeah.
Canada Dry, you're always effervescent on the weekends, and JFB, you're just the man.
Damn right. We are joined by the man who Triple H stole his look from. He is straight New World Order for life. When you see him, make sure you greet him. Give him a too sweet. It's Rich Southwood.
Time to play the game.
You got to talk about the fact that Rich Southwood got a whole new setup now. Like, he got a whole new, congratulations, Rich, on your new house.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gosh,
We are
is
blessed
lovely.
and privileged.
It is fantastic.
This is the new AFW official man cave is right here, right in front of you. We haven't got all the way decorated yet, but we will be up and running here soon, and we will be having a whole bunch of fun here from the new AFW official man cave.
Hell yeah. The official AFW man cave. Ooh, just brings chills to me.
Shivers. It
Oh,
shivers.
Now, before we get started, we wanted to talk about the Iron Sheik. For those who don't know, this past week he passed away. It's a huge, huge loss. He was one of the first heels that I gravitated to before Piper was the Iron Sheik, and you know this man lived the heel gimmick, and even when his wrestling was far beyond over, he lived again on Twitter and put out some of the most funniest shit you've ever seen in your entire life. And it was because of that they made a documentary called The Sheik, and it's about his life. And if you haven't seen it, you can rent it on YouTube. You can rent it on
it's on Tubi.
Yeah, it's on Tubi. There's a plethora of places you can go. But I suggest you buy it because that goes to support his family as well. And it's a great documentary and it really lays out his entire life. So I think it's writingly fit that we get him a 10 bell salute. So here's our 10 bell salute for the Iron Sheik. All right. So
Before you start though, let me because I'm a history guy in my other life,
Yeah.
I do want to point out a couple things like not wrestling facts about him.
Yeah.
You guys know that he did train for the Iranian Olympic team. As a matter of fact, one of his idols was murdered, and that's what really caused him to leave Iran and move to America in the first place.
Yeah.
One of the things that a lot of people don't know is that before he moved to America, he was one of the bodyguards for the last Shah of Iran. So, and the Shah is like the king of kings.
Yeah.
My second Triple H reference for the day. But, but a lot of people don't realize like that is a big deal. Like your family is beyond like reproach. Like you are super trusted there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were actually afraid once the Islamic Revolution happened, that like there were going to be people looking for him simply because he was a bodyguard. So, I mean, there was a lot of, fear and trepidation in his household, but he like never let it show no matter where he was.
Yeah.
And so, when you think about like just bravery in the face of certain things, it's like his life, and that's what goes back to you about the documentary. His life is so like interesting, not just the wrestling part, but as an entire, like as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that man revolutionized what it meant to be a heel.
Yeah.
And everybody after that, MJF owes a gratitude towards the Iron Sheik, because
so does
Rock.
what's that?
I mean, The Rock. I said so does The Rock because
Yeah.
The Rock stole half of his lines. I mean, Tony and
The
everything
Rock,
else.
The Rock is like basically you looked at him as family, but you look at people like Gunther. Gunther's gimmick is not that far off from Sheik's.
Not even it's like that.
Yeah, it's very close, especially when you look at the original way before it went full anti. Like most people remember the anti-Americanism, the 90s. But when you
Nikita Koloff and stuff like that back in the late 80s, when Cold War stuff was going on, because they were like the terrible, and that's kind of when I started getting into wrestling was the mid to late 80s, because that's when I was a young boy. And so I remember seeing a whole bunch of Iron Sheik on my TV on WWF, talking about hating America and everything else. I always thought it was so compelling and intriguing.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the news, I just want to say this.
Yeah.
May God grant him a rematch in heaven.
Yep. We love you, Sheiky, baby. We love you.
Baby.
All right, let's get into the news. From the four corners of the globe, from our studios to your home, this is FNN, the FN News Network, starring Canada Dry and the JFB. Good morning. Here's the news. Before we get to the news, enlighten one. How did you even get into it?
Everyone, you miss me.
Before we start going with the fact of the day, we have a viewer who says, "Hello, gentlemen." What's our fact of the day, enlighten one?
All right, so Canada Dry drinks this shit here. I'm gonna take a swig, and I guess it'll tell me something. All right. Yeah. All right. You guys ready for this?
Yes.
You guys ready? Did you know that over your lifetime, while sleeping, you will eat 10 spiders and 70 other random bugs
Oh
over the course
no,
of your life while sleeping.
no! Now you're gonna make me
And
not
Isn't
want to go
that
to sleep.
wonderful?
Enlightened one, the spider count thing seems really low. I feel like it should be like 10 a year, not for a
Hey,
whole
listen,
lifetime, because those suck. I don't know.
totally
I don't
agree
know.
with
I'm
the
just saying
Batman
that
movie.
10. I just noticing in the Superstar's new garage the amount of spider webs that there are. I'm going with 10 a year, maybe 10 a week. I'm not sure at this point.
Yeah, I'm never gonna
Listen,
That's
go to
because the
sleep.
enlightened
the
still has
Batman
those little
love does
legs
not
sticking out of his
lie.
poop. Like,
I'm never gonna go to sleep now. I'm gonna be freaked out about spiders. I'm gonna have like a tent
JFB
under the
needs to go watch
tent.
Arachnophobia after this.
Oh no!
8-legged
Listen,
freaks.
I find a spider.
Arachnophobia is worth it for John Goodman alone.
If I find a spider in the house, I'm burning the house down. That's just I don't deal with spiders. So Kazarian's in the news. He said he left AEW because the presentation and what he appreciated about wrestling was not what was happening with AEW. Enlighten one. What the hell's up with Frankie Kazarian?
Frankie Kazarian is just the guy who's whining because he was booked so low on the card. That's all it's about.
Yeah, pretty much. Trey J.
Frankie Kazarian is just is in a lot of ways is a guy who was out of time. He came in and it's like he was so good, but the time frame that he entered into wrestling wasn't ready for those 6'3" but like 201-pound guys. And so it's like, as good as he was just a couple decades too early. That's why, like, when you see his ring work now, even though it's not what he was capable of X amount of years ago, people are still like interested in watching him.
Yeah.
But I think there is a little bit of sour grapes to that. I think there are some moments where you're just like, this has passed me by. I'm not being presented as a top guy. Like, if you've never really had that real spotlight, there are times when you look at guys who's like, I trained this guy and now he's out here doing things that I can't.
Yeah.
And as much as I hate to say it, but I think that's why he went to Impact. Because if you look at, I don't know if you guys were going to mention this, but Alex Shelley is the world champion of Impact.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Last night.
And that was such a, that was such a shock. But it's like Alex Shelley's big, his last promo was really about how many of these guys that are out now that he's either taught or elevated in his own way.
Yeah.
I think there's some of that for Frankie Kazarian. It's like Frankie Kazarian is the journeyman, one of those journeymen of wrestling. He didn't stay really in one space, but he was always like a guy that you wanted to see, but never really hit draw status.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
I think there's definitely a lot of that because was it SoCal Uncensored was just starting to really get its own push. So I was like, it just wasn't there. And then Scorpio Sky ends up taking over the group, and it's like the rest is history for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Lord Rich Southwood, your thoughts?
Yeah, my brother from another mother, Trey J, took the words right out of my mouth with sour grapes. I think that's exactly what it is. I think it's a case of, he's not. They were the first ever tag team champions in AEW. It's not like he didn't get pushed. I think, and in regards to the journeyman comment, I feel like he's the poor man's Christian Cage.
Yeah.
Like, he's that guy who's went around everywhere, but Christian Cage has reached that and attained that level of stardom that Kazarian, I think, hoped for with SCU and AEW.
Yep.
And when he didn't get it, I'll go and I'll be the big fish in a small pond in Impact.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like Bobby Fish probably did the same thing.
Who's that? I don't know.
I pulled that all around.
Yeah, I don't know how that guy, we don't know who that guy is in the AFW.
Tay Mello and Sammy Guevara are having a baby girl. That's right. They made the gender reveal online that they are having a baby girl. So we can anticipate baby Guevara. She'll be appearing in AEW in like 2040 something. So
her name's Luna.
Yeah.
Luna.
Yeah. So we're going to expect good things from her. Gunther has held the title now.
Hold on. You're just gonna gloss over the fact that Kay Mello can no longer injure people?
You are correct. She is on
All right,
maternity leave.
move on.
Well, she actually hasn't wrestled in a while too. If
Yeah.
you've noticed, she hasn't been in the ring for a couple months.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I did think the announcement video was very tasteful and well done.
Yeah.
I like the song that they did, the background choice. I thought it was really nice. It
Yeah, it was
pulled
touching.
at the heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah, touched the
Me and my
JFB.
baby heel heart.
So Gunther has held the Intercontinental title now for officially 365 days. The man on top of that podium, of course, is the Honky Tonk Man with
JFB.
478.
JFB.
Yes.
I have a question because I'm hearing it two different ways. Is it Gunther or is it Gunter?
I pronounce it Gunther, but that's just me.
I think the English way is supposed to be Gunter.
Yeah. Well, I prefer
don't
to call
know.
him. I prefer to call him Walter because that's what he really is known for.
We'll go with that too.
Yeah. So in line one, does he beat Honky Tonk Man's 478 combined days as Intercontinental Champion?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this for free. Not gonna charge you anything. It's free. Now, Honky Tonk Man is one of the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time.
Yeah.
But Gunther's gonna do it. He's mean, he's lean, and he's like the fighting machine. He's gonna do it. But I'll tell you, I'm gonna cry because I love the Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah, I do too. I love Honky Tonk Man. Trey, you think he's going to beat Honky Tonk Man's title reign?
Where does that put us on pay-per-views? Would that be like, was that Hell in a Cell will be the pay-per-view he'd have to make it to?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really see a reason for him to lose.
Yeah.
Gunther he puts on like banger matches. Like the guy's been on the main roster like for a cup of coffee, and yet he's probably got more 5-star and like fan favorite matches in just 2023 than like the rest of the roster.
Yeah.
Gunther is really adding the prestige that we haven't seen from that title since like the Jericho era.
Yeah.
So at this point, it would be a mistake to put it on him because there's nobody that can hold it like him.
Yeah.
You can't put it on Riddle because Riddle's something's literally wrong with that guy.
Yeah.
And other than that, there's nobody else that really has the versatility that Gunther has to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Southwood?
At the end, I think if you didn't do it at WrestleMania, why would you do it now? Like, if you were going to do it to Sheamus. Like, that's who I would have dropped it to at WrestleMania if I was going to do it. So I don't see any reason. You might as well let him hold it for even if you did it one day longer. I think that would be funny.
Yeah. All right. Charlotte Flair returns when Asuka was getting the new Women's World Championship. She appears. So, Charlotte's back. I don't know for how long, but at least she's back. Billy Gunn says he doesn't feel like... Yeah?
Did you notice when Charlotte was on stage or the ring, she pointed to the wrong freaking belt?
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah, she did. Oh, yeah, she did. Yeah. Billy Gunn says he doesn't feel Punk is as toxic as people say he is. You know what? It's good to hear Billy Gunn kind of come out and say this because I think a lot of people easily call Punk toxic. So
I think that Punk has more friends than enemies. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true. There's no disagreement there. So Bryan Danielson has become more important in AEW's creative process. Line one, how do you feel about this? Are we seeing a positive result so far with Danielson being in the proverbial driver's seat?
I think that Tony Khan, every time Danielson speaks, he's like, "Oh my God, yes!" and he just wants to hug him and smooch him. I think he's just a big mark.
Yeah,
Bryan Danielson.
Yeah. Trey J, your thoughts?
So you remember how George Lucas, like in the first trilogy, like was hailed as the Star Wars genius, but there were a lot of people that were around to kind of curtail some of his worst ideas. And then the second trilogy came out, and we were just like, "Oh, those people were right."
Yeah.
Like that's what we're getting with this age of AEW. The
Yeah.
more people that he is surrounding himself with, because at the end of the day, whether you look at like even us here as creatives, we have a ceiling. And the only way to break through that ceiling is by the help of other people. I mean, if you guys were to just do Canada Dry and JFB for, 5 years straight, and it was just the two of y'all, it's
Yeah.
like at some point in time, you would have to be like, look, we got to do something different to try to change up this dynamic.
Yeah.
AEW had to realize that you had to change up your dynamic. Some WWE has changed up their dynamic, and it's been, a net positive.
Yeah.
Not every show is going to be great, but it's definitely a marked improvement from where we are a year and a half ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So and you get to see it, and it's like as the proof is there with the Jarrett scenes and everybody else's scenes that can cover for themselves, you're seeing what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And Tony Khan is taking notice.
Yeah, absolutely. Superstar Lord Rich Southwood.
I think there had to come a point, especially after TK bought Ring of Honor, that and if he wanted his product to grow, that he was actually going to have to delegate some of the responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think he's finally doing that with Danielson. And he's doing that with Ring of Honor when he announced that whoever it was going to be Jerry Lynn and whoever else is going to be the main creative of Ring of Honor
Christopher
going
Daniels.
forward. Yeah. So I think he's finally starting either A, he's getting burned out and he knows it's affecting the product,
Yeah.
or B, he's just starting to have some resource utilization. Like you have all these great resources around you, great wrestling minds, use them.
Yeah.
Use them to make your product better, not just their ideas, but use them to physically be part of the company as well. You don't have to do everything yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the hallmark of a great leader is surrounding yourself around with people that can do the job better than you can, and that's essentially what Tony Khan's doing. He's, you're right in line one. I mean, there's no denying it. This show would fall apart if it wasn't, the news would fall apart if it wasn't for the in line one being on there.
Yeah, I bring numbers. That's the fact.
So it looks like SummerSlam might have its main event. We are looking at a bull rope match possibly between Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. So this should be interesting. Nick Patrick talks about almost getting into a fight backstage with Macho Man. Basically, it was Macho Man threw him into one of the pieces of equipment on stage where the wrestlers came out of, and he confronted Macho, and Macho proceeded to go ahead and try to beat the living hell out of him. So, all right, go for you, Nick Patrick. Paul Heyman says that Cena had to be talked into going public about his Make-A-Wish wishes that he's done. Enlighten us. Do you buy this from Paul?
Oh, there's no way in hell Cena was, oh, please don't tell anyone that I'm doing all these wonderful things. It'll be so bad for my career.
Yeah.
Oh, bullshit.
Trey J.
I got to disagree with the enlightened one on this one. I don't think that he was like, don't tell people what I'm doing, but don't make such a big thing out of it. Don't make such a big thing about the number, because then it starts to seem like, okay, you're doing it for the number, because we live in the age of the internet and people love to tear down anything good. Yep. And if you remember like Total Bellas at all, like Cena is notoriously private about the things that he does. Like the way that Cena in his house almost ruined Cena, like public Cena for everybody.
Yeah.
Because of how like regimented he is and how, don't make a big deal out of this. No, we don't do that here. Like, so I could definitely see it to a certain extent. Maybe not to the extent of, oh, please don't tell anybody, it's going to ruin my career. But it's just like, I'm doing this because I want to do it. Let me just do it. Let's not make a big thing out of it, because once you make a big thing out of it, that's a bell you can't unring.
Yep, absolutely. Rich Southwood, your thoughts?
Of course, I agree with Trey J on this one. I don't think it was, oh no, don't say it like he said too. I think it was more of, this is something that I do for the people, and I don't want other people to know, because then if you're doing a good deed just to get noticed, you're not doing a good deed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, that's he strikes me as that type of person. He just wanted to do it just to do it. He didn't need praise for it, because that's not what it was about.
Yeah, absolutely. Sendo Escobar says that Triple H initially didn't want the LWO to form, which I found interesting. There's talk about doing an episode of Dark Side of the Ring about Buff Bagwell. Well, guess what, Vice Channel? We beat you to it. We've had him on twice on the podcast. That was basically our version of the Dark Side of the Ring, because
We
that
can put
man,
all that shit together and make our own Dark Side of the Ring, just on interviews alone.
heck yeah, that's what we should do. That's what we should do. Our last and final bit of news.
Oh, Dark Side of the Mic.
Dark Side of the Mic.
Yep.
Kenta says he wants an official match with CM Punk at Forbidden Door. Enlighten one. Scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you about seeing the two guys who revolutionized the go to sleep move?
Oh, this is gonna be good. I'm excited for Kenta and Punk. Let's do this thing, baby. Rocking and rolling.
Heck yeah. Trey J.
-3. The draw of Kenta and Punk is all about the GTS. It's not about Kenta as a wrestler. In all honesty, there's only one person that makes sense to face Punk at Forbidden Door, and it's Hiroshi Tanahashi. It should be CM Punk versus the Ace.
Yeah.
If it's not that, it's a missed opportunity. The fact that Hiroshi Tanahashi was already announced for Multiverse United 2 shows that he doesn't mind wrestling on this side.
Yeah.
So you got to give us the match that we should have had when Punk first won the belt. And like, the thing about it is Kenta's looking for a payday, because there's no heat behind Kenta. What's Kenta's personality? What's Kenta's story? What's his whole thing? It's like, no, it's about the GTS. He stole the GTS from me. Well, you know what? Let's not even get into how many moves have been stolen from people.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't even the first one to do it.
Yeah.
Just took a great hammer.
We got more yes man on the show. Like, come on.
But no, Hiroshi Tanahashi is a far superior wrestler than Kenta.
Yeah. I totally agree. Rich Southwood, your thoughts?
I think they're both right.
Yeah.
I think for some fans, a go to sleep versus go to sleep is going to sell tickets. I think for people who know about wrestling a lot, I think that they would rather see Tanahashi versus Punk, because it's the face versus the face. Like, it's it's almost like
the face versus the Ace. Love it.
That's great. Yeah, see, and that's how you can market it too. But that has international implications as to where, like, Kenta versus CM Punk would be more of a niche market, I think.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to go more money, you would probably do Tanahashi, but I think that I would be happy to watch either.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, I'm not big on Kenta as I used to be. I think
his shirt looks awesome.
Yeah, but once he went to NXT, I think that kind of ruined the shine on him, and I think that hurt him in the long run, because when he went back to Japan, he wasn't the guy he was before he went to NXT, and they book him accordingly. So, well, that's our news, guys. That's our news. So, what better way to segue into going into the main event and talking about the people who sponsor our main event, and that is Dubby. Dubby Energy is all natural, no sugars added. There's no artificial flavors, colors, or dyes, no malodextrin, no any dextrin whatsoever. Also, no jitters. So, if you want that boost of energy that you need for your big gaming, because let's face it, Fight Forever has an official date of June 29th. You want to stay up, and you're going to want to play that game for about 24 straight hours. The only way to do it is with W.GG. So go to W.GG, enter in the code FN Wrestling, and you will get 10% off of your entire order. Not just one item, all of it. So go to W.GG, enter in our code FN Wrestling, and you will get 10% off of your entire purchase. So
I also want to say that one night I ate a whole tub of Dubby.
Yeah.
And I was fine. It was great.
He was great. No jitters, no heart
No
attacks.
jitters at all. I just was up for 3 days. So yeah.
I was up for a whole week, but and I can taste colors. But W.GG is the way to go. All right, let's get to the main event. Gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. All right. Oh, hey, Canada Dry is back.
I don't know what just happened. I'm back. I get zapped away once in a while.
That son of a bitch. That line one. He's killing me. So, perhaps
It's a
you're
rascally
wondering,
rabbit.
yeah, so perhaps you're wondering what today's main event is. Well, plain and simple, we're going to play the what if game. And here's how it works. I'm going to present a question called what if. What if, and then I'm going to give you the scenario. And then you're going to give us your thoughts on how the future would have been different should this event had not happened or did happen. So my first one is going out to everybody, and it's going to be this. What if Shawn Michaels was the one who got put through the plate glass window? Canada Dry, you go first.
Well, I think what would happen if Shawn Michaels was the one going through the plate glass window.
Yeah.
For a while, Marty Jannetty would be on top of the world.
Yeah.
But Marty Jannetty, being Marty Jannetty, would have tanked that after a year or so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. At least bare minimum, I would have given him like 3 or 4 months before he got caught doing something.
Well,
really
they're
stupid.
trying to push him, right? So he's getting a little bit more chances.
Yeah. Trey J, your thoughts?
Man would have been bigger than Hogan.
Really?
Yeah, Shawn Michaels would have been bigger than Hogan. Can you imagine as good of a heel as Shawn Michaels did for like that 5-year run?
Yeah.
Imagine if he had a face run like that,
Yeah.
where he could play to the crowd. The man would have been bigger than Hogan. Like
Yeah.
he would have been bigger than just about every face, possibly up until Stone Cold.
Yeah.
But what would have happened to Marty?
No, well, Marty would have had it. Marty would have had an okay run, but Marty never committed. And that
Yeah.
was part of the reason why, like, the Rockers folded in the first place. Marty never committed. He committed to the lifestyle outside the ring, but he never really committed to the character. He never had anything that was built. What's your favorite Marty Jannetty promo ever? Like,
I don't have one.
and that's the whole thing. Your favorite Marty Jannetty promo is the one that he got thrown through a glass window.
Yeah.
That's the only one that you can remember.
Yeah.
When they used to have the little vignettes where they come into like the bottom corner of your screen, you don't remember what Marty Jannetty said.
Yeah.
So it's just the whole thing. Like Shawn would have been bigger than Hogan.
Yeah. That's a good take. That really is a great take. I'm gonna go with superstar Lord Rich Southwood. What are your thoughts?
My wholehearted belief, 100%, is that if Shawn Michaels went through that window, Dave Pemberton would never have a gimmick.
Oh wow!
Oh man, AFW bringing in the heat.
I mean, think about it. Like at one point in time, people said, "Hey, you know what? The Motor City Machine Guns are the greatest tag team on earth." No one ever said, "Hey, what if we put singles gold on both of them at the same time?"
Yeah.
And yet here we are.
So my question is, was Shawn Michaels, and knowing his addictive personality and all this other jazz, would that have changed? Do you think he would have not got hooked on painkillers and get knocked out by Marines and other shenanigans that we got into, Canada Dry?
That's an interesting question because, like, wasn't he already in that party lifestyle at that point?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
So
You're saying would he have snapped out of it sooner?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe, or maybe he goes worse. Maybe he ends up like Marty Jannetty. It's very possible.
Marty Jannetty and the
This is all about opportunities, right? You
It
give
is.
someone an opportunity and their whole life changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Trey J, your thoughts?
You never know. I mean, it really took him to like find religion to
Yeah.
do this, but a lot of it was like his vices were so well reinforced, not only by like the backstage power, but you know, having to not have to keep up like this smiling appearance in public.
Yeah.
So it's like you're able to do those things. You're able. I can tell you one thing: you probably wouldn't have slept with Sonny,
Ooh, that's true.
but it's just it's a whole thing. I mean, kayfabe was still pretty much intact there, so I think there would have been a bigger impetus to make sure that he got help
Yeah.
sooner instead of just kind of letting him ride off into the sunset.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely wouldn't have broken his back in that casket match.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't have been in that position.
Yeah. Absolutely. Lord Rich Southwood, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that I mean a lot of times when you have drug abuse and everything, it's a band-aid over deeper issues. So as far as that goes, I think that that continues. Now, I do agree that maybe if he wasn't the face of the company, they wouldn't have just given him whatever he wanted, and maybe there would have been a quicker I don't know from his friends or from someone to get help quicker. So there's a chance that that happens, but there's also a chance that if he's the one that goes through the window, he doesn't become a star and he just spirals quicker, and we don't have him here today.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to think
That's an unfortunate truth
Yeah.
for wrestlers of that generation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I personally think, in all honesty, that Shawn Michaels probably would have gotten the rub eventually. And you're right. I think his face run for 5 years would have been put him over the top, because he had good looks, he had that charisma. He had all the ladies behind him, all wanting to hang out and do things with Shawn Michaels. So I think eventually he could do things.
Let's go play. Let's go bowling. Let's go on a picnic.
Let's go to putt
I
putt.
want to do things.
Yeah, we want to do things with you. We want to go putt putt.
On air balloon rides.
Yeah. You can go see Godzilla in '98.
Yeah. Oh God.
Hey, that's one of the best soundtracks of all time.
I'll give you that.
I
The
dare
soundtrack.
anyone to disagree.
Yeah,
I dare anyone to disagree.
The soundtrack was really good. The movie,
Phenomenal.
not good at all. It was
It's
horrible.
terrible, but the music behind it.
Oh yeah,
Soundtrack.
absolutely. Yeah,
I have the soundtrack still on Spotify.
Yeah, as a Gojira fanatic, and just so you know, I always have Godzilla with me on my desk. So, yeah, I don't look at Godzilla. I don't look at the '98 as a Godzilla movie. I just look at it as a big lizard movie that just happened to be called Godzilla. So,
I mean, he looks more lizardy in that one than anyone.
that's true. That's true.
We're a wrestling podcast. Come on.
Yep. There we go.
That's all Godzilla did was wrestle.
That's true.
That's all Godzilla
You
did.
see us move on my brother? I can slam him off. I'm like,
Yeah, he took it. Me.
Body slams, man.
Number
That's
two.
That's how the Michinoku driver came to be, actually.
Yeah.
Little known fact.
Yeah.
Little known
Because of
fact.
Godzilla. Good Godzilla versus Mothra, round 3. Yeah. What if Goldberg never injured Bret Hart? Canada Dry, you go first.
what if?
Do you have time for the rest of the show? I just want to know.
What if
That's your last question.
Hart was never injured by Goldberg? What if he never got in that match?
Yeah.
It would have been like a time off where after WCW, maybe WCW doesn't fold right away.
Yeah.
Maybe that NWO gimmick that they were running with, maybe it works.
Yeah.
Because those guys, those were you didn't have any jobbers in that NWO.
No, you didn't.
But if WCW folds, he doesn't go back right away.
Yeah.
But Vince is a smart businessman.
Yeah.
And he'd try to repair the relationship because he knows that having Brett back in the fold would be money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. 100%. Trey, your thoughts?
I don't know. That's a tough one. Jeez. I don't know. I honestly don't like that. That one, I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, there was definitely some frustration with Brett's run in WCW at the time. The Time Warner merger. I mean, everything was just. I don't know. Goldberg was kind of washed at that point, though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think because that ruined like such a great feud because Brett was beyond outsmarting Goldberg, and then I don't know. It's just there's a lot to that. I think Brett doesn't become bitter.
Yeah.
I think that Brett doesn't start shrugging off appearances and not wanting to do certain things because of how he feels. I mean, definitely, Brett was one of the great minds of the business.
Yeah.
And I think that got damaged severely with the concussion. Like,
Yeah.
I think his love for the business kind of died in that moment too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, I do feel like that it would have been a happier Brett, which would have meant it would have had a very strong splash effect on a lot of other things.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I don't think it would have necessarily affected WCW that much.
Yeah. Okay. Rich Southwood, your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think he's a lot less grumpy, but he has every right to be. Like, he feels he has a pedigree of what he came from and what he was doing, and to have that taken away by an ex-football guy who was just a big dumb jock in his opinion,
Yeah.
like, that's where the bitterness really takes hold, I think. It's because he perfected his craft, and here comes a guy who doesn't do anything but yell and blow smoke out of his nose from his pyro,
Yeah.
and now his life is over,
Yeah.
as he thought. And it just reminds me of like Batman, like in the Dark Knight like story. Like he became a recluse, and he's bitter about the world, and he doesn't want to interact. And I feel like I feel like Bret Hart looks older than what he should be.
Oh yeah.
I got a rebuttal here because I think you guys are both full of crap. And you don't know what you're talking about as a Bret Hart mark. Myself, Bret isn't bitter. Bret's not bitter. He's happy.
He's
That's
happy.
all I wanna
He's
say.
he's happy.
It took Brett a long time. It took Brett a long
Yeah.
time to get there.
But he wasn't happy for a while.
And you did not answer the question, Mr. Rich Southwood. What would happen with Bret Hart if he wasn't booted in the face by Goldberg?
He would have continued with WCW until it folded, and then I don't think he goes back to WWE, so he probably goes to TNA. Him and Sting do some stuff with Flair. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then eventually they kiss and make up in WWE, and I don't know if he wrestles there or if he just does something behind the scenes, because I don't know how long it would take for him to get. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I mean, if he was a smart person, then he knows that him coming back to WWE when he can still wrestle is a moneymaker. And
Well, he was inducted in
Vince is a-
2006.
Yeah.
So it was only 6 years before he went back.
Once again, I didn't watch wrestling after 2001.
Okay.
I don't know any of this. So
Yeah.
I'm just going on pure conjecture here.
Okay.
And that's what I think happens. But if he's smart, like they make money and they maybe they do it sooner because there is that heat there. It's like CM Punk with Tony Khan. Like, you have to bring him back because there's money to be made. You're leaving money on the table. I think both sides would have came to that at some point, maybe earlier.
Yeah.
I don't think that Brett would have mended fences with Vince because I think he would have taken the side, marked the side when it came to Owen.
Yeah.
Because remember, that was in that same year. That was all 1999. So, I mean, I think that Brett would have definitely held. He would have definitely tried to make Vince pay. Yeah, I think he would have wanted Vince to suffer simply because that's like a blood feud.
Yeah, but I think
I see that.
Yeah, but since 2006 is when he went to the Hall of Fame, I think that's probably when the fences would have been manned and he would have been able to do some matches.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like to think that Brett would have probably had, because he was in the twilight of his career at that point. I mean, he wasn't going to wrestle the 320 some odd days that professional wrestlers wrestled for WWE when WCW had that, because they didn't do house shows. So it would have extended his life in terms of his career a little bit longer, but we got robbed of seeing him possibly going to WWE and having these dream matches like him
Kurt
versus
Angle.
Kurt Angle, Jericho.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, Booker T. I mean, like, there's a litany of opponents that he could have had his swan song with as he got into the point where he had to retire just because of just being old and shit not working the way it should. I mean, I know I'm 50 and shit don't work the way it's supposed to on my end.
I mean, he would definitely pushed a lot of Canadian wrestlers to the forefront. I mean, imagine him going to TNA and being the head of Team Canada instead of Scott D'Amore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
100%. 100%. My next one is going to be this. We recently had an episode with Dark Side of the Ring where they talked about Magnum TA, Magnum Terry Allen. What if Magnum TA was never in that car accident? Hannah Dry, you go first.
Magnum TA. This guy was set up to be The Rock versus Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Like on that level, like equal to Ric Flair.
Yeah.
And he said on the doc that he didn't want to wrestle when he's like 37.
Yeah.
He thought that was stupid. Didn't want to be running around in his underwear when he's 37.
Yeah.
But the bug gets in you. You just keep doing it.
Yep.
Easy to say, hard to do.
Yeah.
I think he would have definitely been one of those big time legends and easily probably put up on someone's Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
He was that good.
Yeah.
And maybe Sting doesn't get that number 2 spot.
Yeah.
Because Sting isn't that great of a wrestler, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's got a great gimmick. He's got a great look. He's got got a good catchphrase.
Yeah.
But can he wrestle like Magnum TA? No.
Yeah. No, not even close. Trey J, your thoughts?
People still like talk about Terry Allen. People who are like a generation above me, and they talk about Terry Allen, and like when they talk about him and how good he was, because I don't remember seeing Terry Allen live because of my age. But you look at him and you see him like sometimes he does these appearances, and I mean the people who come out to see him, they talk about him with a reverence that you don't hear very often. Like he was up there like with the way they talk about Flair and Rude and some of those guys, and I mean it's just amazing. Like he had such a great look that was almost like spitting image of Burt Reynolds in Magnum. Yeah. He was a like a legit tough guy, like big guy.
Yeah. And
he would have definitely done well as NWA champion.
Oh yeah.
And I think that he would have been one of those people that kind of as his career was ready to tail off, he would have still been an important fixture in wrestling, even if he wasn't wrestling.
Yeah.
So definitely we got robbed of some quality years from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Rich, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that he would have been one of the greats. I think that it would have been fun to see him with like Harley Race.
Yeah.
To do it right. And I think eventually later on in his career, he would have been in WCW and he would have joined Flair, became one of the 4 horsemen.
Yeah. I like it.
Instead of like maybe Mongo McMichael, maybe it was Magnum TA.
Oh, man,
I don't think he would have joined the 4 Horsemen because I think he would have been the force against the 4 Horsemen like Sting.
I mean, maybe, but I think maybe by that time, I think it'd be an interesting turn. It'd be something that maybe your viewers didn't expect.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, realistically, this guy should have been the face of WCW, not Flair, not Sting. It should have been Magnum TA because regardless of how his work ethic was in the ring and how good he was, that man had charisma. Like he had charisma coming out of the yazoo, and he still does. I met him a few years ago at a wrestling convention, and we sat and talked for about 5 or 10 minutes while he was signing autographs. And I mean, damn, like I wanted to hang out with him for the whole day. Like I almost asked him, like, hey, can I steal you for the whole day and let's just talk about wrestling and Porsches? Like, and he's got charisma. He captures people. He entrenches them in how he talks and his mannerisms and everything. So,
The way that we get Tessa Blanchard's character when she was super popular
Yeah.
is all Magnum TA.
oh yeah, 110%.
Oh,
Absolutely.
it's beyond. Like when you look at if you look at Tessa Blanchard like pre-pandemic,
Yeah.
like I mean, it's like this is what we would have gotten from Magnum TA. This is because
Did
Tessa,
Tessa have a mustache also?
I don't know. Tessa got that strong chin though.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got Tully's chin. That's for
Yeah.
sure. 'Cause she didn't
But
get
I
it from her mama.
But you got to look at it. I mean, her promos, her charisma, her ability to kind of just take over a show. Like it makes sense why Impact wanted to make her world champion.
Yeah.
Because she was. I mean, this is the second coming. Like you guys who have kids, sometimes you guys see it, and it's like you don't realize that like wow, a lot of times we want to mold our boys to be just like us. Sometimes it's the daughters that are so much better at bringing out that personality, those personality traits than we ever could.
Yeah.
Like they're like our ultra evolution.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would love to have seen Magnum TA have a long run. Because I think he would have been equally as important backstage when his wrestling career was over. Almost as influential as Dusty Rhodes and the like, because Dusty, I mean, everybody knows Dusty booked like amazingly. So
I think he would even had a WWE run.
Yeah, I think he would have too. I mean, the unfortunate part is Vince probably would have done to him what he did to the Dusty and just given him a shit gimmick because he wanted to stick it to WCW and the NWA. He wanted
I don't
to
know.
show
I
him.
think Vince would have said, this is money. This is such good shit.
He is an airport guy.
You see that mustache? He's gonna bring all the ladies in.
Yes. So the next one,
Terry Allen versus Hogan would have been the draw.
With the
Yeah.
Terrys.
yeah, absolutely.
The battle of the Terrys, damn it.
So my next question to you guys is: what if Owen never did the stunt that killed him? Canada Dry, you're first.
Yeah, I've thought about this many, many, many times. What if we were able to go back in time, just grab Owen by the ankle, and make him drag you up the stairs? Don't do it. Don't do it. But yeah, if Owen all of a sudden decided I had a bad feeling, I'm not doing it. I think he would have wrestled for a couple more years.
Yeah.
And he would have hung it up.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think we would get those time in the 2000s very much. I think we get Owen would wrestle early in the 2000s, but not for very long. I think he was ready to call it a day.
Yeah. Do you think he gets a world championship run?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't think Vince would have given it to him. I think it was too late.
Yeah. Trey,
Maybe a little later to try and make him stay. I don't know.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Trey J?
I think Owen would have had a great, solid career. He would have been like Dolph Ziggler before Dolph Ziggler. But I think that because Owen was already planning his way out of wrestling, which let's not pretend that that's not above Vince to Suge Knight somebody.
Yeah.
I think Rich, don't look at me like that.
I'm looking because like they're listening.
Right.
We're next.
But
New house, they gotta have me here.
I cannot imagine a situation where Owen doesn't get coaxed out of to come out and actually, because he might not have been WWF World Champion. Oh, but he was definitely going to be TNA's World Champion.
Yeah.
He would have loved. I think he would have loved the lack of having to really do much. He would have loved the fact that there were Canadians involved pretty much from the beginning. I think that he would have seen it as an opportunity to build new stars. He would have been in charge of probably building their entire roster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it would, you know, I mean, you imagine Jeff Jarrett, Jarrett, Owen, because Owen probably was financially stable enough to put money into this.
Yeah.
And imagine like how crazy that backstage was, because Owen was the king of all pranks.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I mean, the wrestlers that would have come out of there would have been like beyond amazing.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that Owen was so good. Owen was so athletically gifted. Brett wasn't an athlete.
Yeah.
Like inherently. Brett was not inherently an athlete. Brett was a great mind. Brett wasn't inherently an athlete. Owen, on the other hand, was an athlete. Owen was a baseball player and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, he was, you know, he
He
had
was a hockey player too, wasn't he?
Right. He was also a hockey player.
Yeah. Yeah, he was just naturally gifted from whatever he did. He did it extremely well. So, Rich Southwood, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, there's three. Trey J's answer to me sounds like someone who watched wrestling during that time and knows what's going on. So I like that answer. But as someone who didn't watch from that era, I have these fantasy thoughts that I have. So one of them, and the most important, is his kids would have grown up with their dad.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Number two, I wonder, does he follow Brett to WCW, and do they do something there? Because that could have been interesting, and maybe that helps save WCW as well. So the TNA part never comes to fruition.
Yeah.
Also, selfishly, I would have liked to seen him go back to Japan.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah,
that's what
the
I
only
would have
reason I don't see the Japan thing happening, because
I don't think it would have happened, but I would have.
He
loved
just
to
loathed being away from his family so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a family man first and foremost before he was anything else, for sure.
That's the only reason his WCW thing didn't work out originally.
Yeah,
they wanted him to move down there. He's like, no, I'm not moving.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think, in my personal opinion, he probably would have had a pretty decent run in WWE. I think he would have eventually taken a back seat at some point and maybe worked some creative. But I like to think that he would have been the guy that Vince calls to say, hey, we're having trouble with this finish on this match. Give us a dusty finish. And Owen giving them exactly that, because that man had a great brain for the business. I mean, yeah, the business jerked him around, specifically Vince jerked him around, but for the most part, I think that he would have had a really good career just working behind the scenes and training other wrestlers.
I would have liked to think that he had some matches with Eddie and all those guys, but I don't. I just don't see it.
Yeah,
because I just see him like, listen, he was already on his foot out the door at the time when he died. So
yeah,
I can't see him being coaxed back into it.
Yeah, very true, very true. All right, let's do one last one, and that is going to be this. Speaking of Vince McMahon, what if Vince actually was found guilty at the steroid trial? Canada Dry, you go first.
I don't even know what to say to that one.
Yeah.
I think it would have changed wrestling gigantically.
Yeah.
Like, what happens to WWE at this point? Do we even know what happens?
They'd be bankrupt.
Do they fold?
They do. I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he spent millions and millions of dollars, hundreds.
So does WCW then become the king of wrestling?
I think so.
And if it becomes his giant brand name, and they're not going to fold a giant brand name like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Trey J, your thoughts?
I think that like like you guys said, I would definitely go with the whole WCW would end up Turner would have definitely bought WWF.
Yeah.
He would have immediately used the name like to keep the shows and keep things going. Wrestling though would be so much more, it would be so different because a lot of the cartoony stuff that Vince was doing, WCW would have never have done it, and it would have been definitely taken to the mainstream a lot quicker. A
Yeah.
lot of WCW stuff was, I mean, great. Had WCW not lost their time slot, WCW was gonna overtake Vince because they had the young stars. They had the AJ Styles, they had the Christopher Daniels, they had the those guys who were in that general area. Heck, they would have had Kazarian at that time.
Yeah.
Coming up. That would have definitely transitioned because WCW or WWF or wrestling in general wasn't accepted because all these beefy, burly guys, like all these big meaty men slapping meat, weren't gonna get you to the mainstream. It wasn't until you start having the more good-looking people, the people that are acceptable by mainstream standards. And WCW was already far on the way of that. Plus, they had Turner Media and Time Warner as a whole to back them.
Yeah.
So imagine not getting WWF studios or WWE studios because you don't need it. You have Warner Studios here. You start having those wrestlers, those better looking wrestlers in cameo roles and movie roles and stuff. Like with if Vince had folded, like Vince, you guys know in a lot of ways, as much as I think that Vince was the boon of wrestling, Vince failed upwards a lot of times as well.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that you would have had that. I think that you would have had actual executives that knew how to build and how, like, not to lean their entire program on one person. I mean,
but then they also put Bischoff in charge of everything.
And I don't think that would have happened though, because this would have happened before before Bischoff really would have been able to consolidate power.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
You think they get someone better than Bischoff then?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I think that the entire idea, first of all, you don't you get, you lose Vince, but a lot of the creative minds there, a lot of the executive, the business people that were at Titan Towers at that time, those people were number crunchers.
Integrated.
Yeah, it would have been these guys were like at the top of their business. These are Harvard and Yale educated people. This is before we started getting soap opera writers and all that other stuff. This is when you're getting brains out of this.
Yeah.
This is Cornette doesn't go crazy. We don't have this rise of Vince Russo, who was the person that drove Cornette crazy.
Yeah.
This is Paul Heyman getting brought in from the NWA to run WWF.
Yeah.
Like, there is no ECW anymore. There is, none of this stuff. All these things fall into place because you've removed this piece, this major piece, and now there's a vacuum at the top. And everybody who is better equipped for it can handle it.
Yeah.
And do we still get an AEW? Probably not.
No, we wouldn't need one.
Yeah.
No, it would be WWE or it would be like WCWF on one end, and then New Japan having to step its game up to become like so much more dominant in the entire Eastern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Like you would get you get New Japan, you get New India, you get New Africa, you get all these different things, and it's like wrestling, because wrestling is now mainstream 20 years earlier.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Not to mention the Samoan dynasty goes to WCW instead of WWF.
Yep.
You didn't see that one coming, did you?
That's a good one. That's huge.
Yeah.
Lord Witch Southwood, your thoughts?
Well, in my mind, I take what Trey J says and I take it a step further beyond that. And I think that WCW becomes on top. Warner buys WWF. They keep WWF as a separate brand from WCW. So I think that a lot more wrestlers get paid and showed a lot earlier. But I think inversely, it pretty much kills independent wrestling for most of that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that we don't have independent wrestling anymore.
You know what else we get out of that?
A drug policy.
We get the Sting and Undertaker matches together.
True. Well, we wouldn't have Crow Sting though, so that wouldn't have been.
Oh yeah. I guess not.
but we would get a drug policy that actively worked in wrestling.
Yes. No more bullshit wellness program. Okay.
You can't bullshit a publicly traded company
No, you can't.
unless it's WWE.
Yep, absolutely. I think in all, what would happen if WWE lost the steroid trials? They would have folded. I mean, they just would have filed for bankruptcy, and WCW would just came to pick the carcass. Because this is back in the day. This is in '94, so there's still no downside guarantee contracts. There's still no billion-dollar contracts that are being signed. Guys are wrestling basically by the seat of their pants. But I don't think WCW, I think he would have bought WWF for the tape library alone. Turner would have. I don't think he would have kept WWF. Only because that's, his whole purpose of buying wrestling was to put Vince McMahon out of business.
And you were like, oh, this was easy.
Yeah. And I think he would have just kept the course with WCW and eventually start hiring former WWF, WWE wrestlers at this point, and I think it would have been a huge get, but you're right. I think Paul Heyman stays in the NWA, WCW. I don't think ECW happens. I don't think TNA happens. I don't know about indie wrestling. I think independent wrestling still would thrive, but not at the level that it thrived on.
Right.
Because
there's always going to be your local mom and pop wrestling things, but
Yeah.
I don't think PWG shows up. I don't think you have First Wrestling. I don't think you have places like that.
Okay. Yeah. I see where you're coming from. I do.
I mean, with that, do you get the rise of the Young Bucks if those kind of places aren't
Yeah,
around?
do you even
the
get
whole
that
West
TNA
Coast
impact?
movement?
I think you do get the Young Bucks, but I don't think you get the Young Bucks that we know today. I think you get, I think at some point they would have found their way into WCW, and at some point they would have thrived, at least, because you got to remember too, back in this day in '94, WCW had a ironclad contract with New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
They had a working contract with them where, NWO and all that jazz goes to Japan. They do their tours there, like Scott Norton and Buff Bagwell. So it would have been interesting to see Undertaker. It would have been really interesting to see Hulk Hogan, not Hulk Hogan, but, Bret Hart. It would have been interesting to see where these guys fit in. Do they slot them and putting them in WCW? Do they just let them go with the wind? I mean, who knows to say?
I need an Undertaker versus Mortis match immediately.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, we have a lot more questions, but there's always a part two that you can do.
I'm sure we can totally come up with a what if part two.
Oh, yeah.
I
still got tons left. I still got tons left. We're going to be doing 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts. But yeah, so that's our show.
Series.
It's a 7-part documentary.
And Marvel can make a whole stack of comics out of this. So cool.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
time for Style Showcase.
Yeah.
What if edition?
So, Canada Dry, what's on the plate for this week?
Oh, I think next week on the Magic of Wrestling, we got our quiz show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we do.
And of course, Friday we got the Wrestling with the Paranormal. And then next Sunday, we got the roundest table ever.
Yes. Even more round than what we currently have right now, which is damn near perfectly round.
And of course, Rich Southwood's coming back. And the Kush is going to explain why he's a bigger star than the superstar.
Okay. Then, of course, we have Saturday is Collision After Dark.
Yes, that is right. And also, Rich is also on that show. He's like our new star.
Yeah,
Mr. Main Event. I already told you guys. Come on, man.
But unfortunately, you won't be able to see Trey Styles very often unless we get you guys on a show like this on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, there's enough of us to spread the love, baby. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
You'll have Trey J withdrawals.
Yeah.
Please, I need my boy.
I need more Trey J.
Everybody needs more Trey J. It's just, whenever I give blood, like the blood bank gets robbed.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, that's true.
Yeah, they're trying to clone me, but it's just like I won't let them.
Yeah.
I would let him.
I wouldn't let him either.
The
Screw
clones,
them.
the clones aren't viable because they're just not. They don't have the secret sauce.
Yeah. Exactly.
Did you ever see the movie Multiplicity?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Steve.
We're gonna go eat a dolphin. We're gonna eat a dolphin. Yeah, make a copy of a copy, but that
Yeah,
copy
as soon as you
is
make one
exactly-
copy, it gets stupider and stupider.
Steve, that leg's gonna have to come off.
Yep.
Starts shaving his tongue.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
there's
We
still
did-
razors in there. We took
Yeah,
the
we took
razors
the
out.
razors out because
That's my favorite
It's
thing.
one
to
of
say
my
in the
favorite
world.
movies of all time.
Yeah.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, Steve, how are you? Well,
Every
guys.
movie with Michael Keaton is great.
Oh yeah,
Literally, name one. I just want
Dad?
to find
Mr.
one.
Dad. Woo.
yeah,
No, I thought it was Mr. Mom. Is that Mr. Mom?
Oh yeah, Mr. Mom. Mr. Mom.
Mr. Mom was good too.
yeah.
Yeah.
The one where he was in working for the Japanese audio industry was really funny too. Gung Ho,
Yep.
Yep.
really good. Night Shift, fantastic. Early Michael Keaton.
The
So
other guys.
Trey J, tell me, what is our score of all this today? Can you do the math on it?
Our score on all this today?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Probably the simple fact, like I already guarantee like a 8 by myself. Rich is here, so we're probably at least a 15 out of 10. You're here, so it probably goes down to a 13. I'm just kidding. You're great. And JFB makes it a full 20. I mean, like this is great.
Yeah,
That's some nice math. That's some nice
great.
math.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love that
all I see is like the top four in the lineup. Really, like
this is a murderer's row.
you got your leadoff hitter, you got your cleanup, and we all can play any position. It doesn't
Yeah.
really matter.
Yep.
JFB, guess what?
What?
We now have memberships you can sign up to contribute
Ooh,
to our channel.
okay.
We got
Yep.
we got the 4 different tiers. We got the sidekick tier.
Yeah.
We got the champion. We got the superhero tier.
Yeah.
We got the champion tier. We got the world champion tier. So you can give to our show.
Yeah.
And help not only just buy a shirt, but now we're talking about giving money, and they can actually give money now.
All right. Well, all you got to do is just click like and subscribe. YouTube.com/like and subscribe. And below it, you'll see all that information that if you want to tear up and pony up some cash for us,
Tier up.
do just little tears, just little ones. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. You know, if you want to support the show, you know, you go to fnwrestling.com, go all the way down. There's our social media links, but we got our social media links in the YouTube as well. So go to youtube.com/FN Wrestling, where you can go ahead and click like, boink, 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 and subscribe, boink, 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 and be alert as to when everything happens. So smash that subscribe button. Now, if you don't want to pony up 5, 10, 20, 30, 100, 200 bucks from your mom's purse, support our show, you can go ahead and buy a shirt. Like, say you want to buy the All Effing Wrestling shirt. You want to buy the Badass with a Great Ass shirt.
Can't buy that shirt. This is her shirt.
Yeah, that's her shirt. But she is wearing one of our shirts, which
Yes,
is the All Effing Wrestling shirt. And she looks really good in the middle finger shirt as well. There's only one way to do it, and that's to go to prowrestlingtees.com/effing wrestling. Now, if you're a fan of old school wrestling, and I know that you are because all 4 of us are, Adrian Adonis has an episode coming up this season on Dark Side of the Ring where they're going to talk about his life and how it was cut short. You can go to prowrestlingtees.com/Adrian Adonis, where you can get your Adrian Adonis gear like the adorable Adrian Adonis. We have a new shirt up there now, too, as well. Go in, grab yourself a shirt, grab yourself a couple of shirts. You know, we got Father's Day coming up. You want to show off to your your friends that your dad is the coolest dad in the world because he listens to our show. That's what you do. You go ahead and buy that shirt. So, other than that, on behalf of Canada Dry Classic, the unstoppable Trey J Styles, Superstar Lord Rich Southwood, I am the JFB.
And remember to always, always, always just keep fighting.
Yeah. Conor McGregor, I'm coming for you. Hit it! This has been an effing worldwide media production. You can find us on all social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and others. Head over to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/effing wrestling. And while you're there, click like and subscribe. Want some swag? Head to our store at prowrestlingtees.com/effing wrestling. You can find all these links and much more at our awesome website, effingwrestling.com. As the JFB always says, you can book it.